The Denver Broncos are about to make it 2 in a row against Patrick Mahomes and Travis Swift and this Kansas City Chiefs team that we all can't stand. You know how I know, because I go behind enemy lines, talk to Michael Darcy. He works for the team, covers the team, great content creator for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we talk about Chiefs weaknesses, Broncos strengths, his most hated Denver Bronco of all time. If you Bo-LIEVE the Denver Broncos are going to actually beat the Chiefs on Sunday, show me by liking this video and subscribing, and let's dive in.
My main man, Michael Darcy. How you living, big dog?
I'm doing pretty good. Listen, it's been a very eventful season. Still 8-0. Could change this week, but don't think it'll change this week.
Oh, man, dude. Well, yeah, so how on earth did it get to this point? Because, I thought y'all had the worst offseason I could possibly imagine. High-speed collisions, losing Snead, weird political turmoil in the locker room with the Bucker comments, then Hollywood Brown going down, Rashee Rice. How do you maintain a winning culture when I don't think anyone had a worse offseason than you all did?
I think the culture is really established by Andy Reid, and I think that we would be having a very different conversation if Patrick Mahomes got hurt. I think there's a big three in the locker room, and it's Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and Travis Kelce. And when you have those three guys, you can kind of maintain that culture and continue to build around them, because Chris Jones is the anchor to your defense. And Travis Kelce, who hasn't had the best maybe statistical season, he's still a guy that you're going to want on your offense to be a consistent third down threat in the red zone threat. And you've kind of seen with the emergence of new acquisition DeAndre Hopkins, they're both feeding off of each other. And so they're able to use each other and provide in this offense. But I think that the culture has never been in question just because the locker room is so solid with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But yeah, there was a bunch of stuff going on. And honestly, Ben, I'm not going to lie to you. The fact that they've been able to overcome all of these things, the comments didn't really bother me, all the outside football stuff, but the injuries, all the injuries to the wide receivers, if you would have just asked me, I don't know how they were able to do that.
Yeah, man, 100%. And I have to give flowers to Andy Reid, because I made multiple videos, because all that stuff is true about all that happened. And I was like, they're going to be complacent. They've won 2 in a row, so they're already going to take it easy. So I thought you'd lose a bunch of games early, because your schedule wasn't easy either at the start. But that all changes. I feel like the storyline is perfect for the Denver Broncos to beat a perfect 8-0 Chiefs, and it's just going to feel good, dude. It's going to feel really good. So let's talk both sides of the ball. Let's talk how Bo Chapman-Nix is going to just dominate.
His middle name is Chapman. I didn't know that.
It is. He's just an absolute baller. I have it tattooed here. I'll get my shirt off at the end. We'll pop the tops and take a look here. So what are the defensive weaknesses of the Kansas City Chiefs?
I think that number 2 cornerback position is very vulnerable. You saw Gardner Minshew and Baker Mayfield really target that. Before Jalen Watson got injured, I would say there really wasn't too much of a lagging issue. I mean, they've had trouble covering tight ends, but when you're undefeated and those tight ends haven't really killed you in losses, it's kind of hard to be like, yeah, they just can't defend the tight end. I mean, eventually offenses are going to have to move the ball somehow. And so while they haven't been the best at stopping the tight end, I would say that number 2 cornerback spot is an area that Bo Nix could pick on, because you've got a couple guys in Joshua Williams who has been very inconsistent, and then Chris Roland Wallace, who has gotten some rotational snaps this year. But before he had an interception in that San Francisco 49ers game, I didn't know who he was. I mean, he was so low down on the totem pole that the fact that he's kind of been pushed into this spot, it's concerning. And you're trying to do things with maybe bringing Chamari Connor, who's been a safety for this team, but they're putting him at corner. They're trying to figure out different ways to, leverage that injury in that position. But I would say that cornerback 2 spot is a weakness that Bo Nix could target and take advantage of.
Well, I mean, our last 2 games against you, Sean Payton has really prioritized running the ball. I think a lot of that is because he had Russell Wilson. So that Thursday night game last year, he threw for 95 whopping yards, which I feel like Patrick Mahomes does in one throw sometimes. And then the one we beat you, he threw for 116. Yeah. So our running game was great in both of those games. How do you run when you have Chris Jones? What have teams tried to do, and how have you guys stacked up against the run this year?
weirdly enough, this is the best Chiefs team that I've seen in their ability to stop the run. That's kind of been one of their weaknesses. In years past, they could get to the quarterback, they could sack him, they could lock down, your wide receivers with the secondary with great corners. But, traditionally they haven't been able to stop the run. But this year, throw anybody at him. Derrick Henry, it doesn't matter. Alvin Kamara, they've been so consistent at stopping the running game. And I think my biggest concern, if I'm a Broncos fan, is Bo Nix has been tasked with throwing a lot this season. And it's kind of reminiscent of what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes back in 2018, where it's just like, hey, kid, go out there and throw the ball as much as you can. It's the air raid offense. It's what Sean Payton wants to do. And while that is good, this is going to be an environment where throwing the rookie in and say, hey, throw the ball 45 times, 50 times, that could go poorly. And so you have to find a way to run the ball at least a little bit. But I don't know how you will run the ball against this defense.
How have you all stacked up with like dual threat quarterbacks? Because you've seen a lot of that from Knicks this year. And are you spying guys like when you played Lamar? How have they tried to attack this Kansas City defense?
With Lamar, I remember we talked about like, how do you beat Lamar? Well, you make him throw, but you got to make him throw playing man, because if you make him throw with zone, there's just too many guys that aren't playing man to man, and then Lamar can scramble, and then it really gets ugly. But I think that we've fared okay. I think that Steve Spagnuolo, our defensive coordinator, is just so great at game planning at a quarterback and what he does well. And so, yeah, I mean, Bo Nix has been more of a dual threat player, but I think that outside of Courtland Sutton, and maybe I'm wrong, there isn't really a weapon on the offense that would be super concerning for Steve Spagnuolo. So I think you got to take Courtland Sutton out of it. You're going to put Trent McDuffie on him. And then outside of that, you can spy on Bo Nix with a Leo Chenal or, maybe a Drew Tranquill. But I think that if the running backs aren't running the ball great, it's probably not a good indicator that the quarterback would run it great. And I think it's just the defensive line has overperformed this year by many metrics. And we're going to get Charles Omenihu back by like week 11 or 12. So that's just a starting defensive end that you're throwing back in this team. And if you remember, he had that strip sack in the AFC Championship game last year.
Yeah, man, 100%. So how has Spagnuolo not gotten a head coach job, or does he just not want it? Because he also was the defensive coordinator of that team that beat the 17-0 Brady-led Patriots, like when he was with New York. Why is he still a defensive coordinator when he's so good?
I have no idea, because I would have kind of said the same about Eric Bieniemy. Yes. Eric Bieniemy was a fantastic offensive coordinator. He went to Washington and they didn't have this. I really do think that Spags is just as important to the Chiefs' success as Chris Jones is. And you've seen it with what he's been able to do with sending blitz packages, creating different ways to, disguise those things that make it really difficult for a rookie quarterback, or even a quarterback that maybe not be elite. Like Brock Purdy's had real issues against this Chiefs defense. And, you've seen just down the list, the Chiefs defense has been so good. And I think it's because our defensive coordinator is the best in football. And I don't know why he doesn't have a job. If I was a team that was looking for their next defensive-minded head coach, I don't know who else you'd talk to but Steve Spagnuolo.
There's a lot of rumors with Belichick going out last year that it was going to be Andy Reid's last run, and part of me wonders, like, is he trying to hang on? And if y'all do three-peat, does Andy Reid ride off into the sunset saying, hey, I'm the first and only coach who will probably ever do this? And so that'll be wild, but you're going to lose this week. So that'll
really quickly, I'll break some news to you guys. I've been seeing some different things, and these are all rumors. I don't think that Andy Reid would be done after Super Bowl, but I've never said this on my channel either. I do think if we do three-peat, Travis Kelce would end it. I think he would probably ride off into the sunset. He's done enough. He's three-peated. He's got the girlfriend in Taylor Swift. I don't think that he would continue playing, and so that could be something to look at.
He just go grabbing cell phones and spiking them, right? Just like his brother.
Spike cell phones and start acting, I guess.
I love it, man. All right, let's hop to the other side of the ball. Who's y'all quarterback? Just kidding. Patrick Mahomes, what's his injury update? Like, I think watching that Tampa Bay game, it seemed like he was hobbled, taking 4 sacks in that game. He didn't seem quite as mobile as normal. What are they saying about his health?
He's good to go. Honestly, I can't believe that he gets out of injuries just like so easily, because when he initially went down, I was like, okay, non-contact, his knee kind of buckled, his hip like jarred forward. I was like, this dude's done, like, for the season. Something bad was going to happen. But somehow, some way, the dude's just built like Gumby. He just recovers from this kind of stuff. And so he's been okay. He's been practicing. Nothing to really concern about that ankle. I do think he'll have it taped, but he's got it taped most of the weeks. So I don't think that's a concern. And you guys are going to miss. Pacheco's apparently going to come back in practice, at least in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So you're not going to have to see him this week. But the Chiefs' offense is getting healthier on that side of the ball.
Dude, Pacheco is like, I've never seen such a violent runner. Like, I'd be scared to tackle anyone, but I'd rather try to tackle Derrick Henry. I think there's something about him that it just seems like he's starting a fight every time he hits the hole. It's wild.
Yeah, and honestly, this could be a crazy take, but Kareem Hunt has, I think, ran the football better than Pacheco did. And when Pacheco comes back, I think that you have to integrate him in the offense, but I'm one of the very maybe small believers out there that Kareem Hunt should maintain that starting job, because you've kind of seen how the offense has functioned, and the Chiefs in previous years have not been able to run the football like that. And so I think that, once Pacheco comes back, you kind of mix and match both of them together and maybe not give Kareem Hunt 30 carries a game. But I think that he should start because he's just been a really good, productive member. He's got 5 touchdowns in 5 games.
Man, yeah. One thing, our defense, even against Derrick Henry last week, first half, 22 yards in the first half for him running. After that, they opened the faucet and we kind of changed everything. But I do feel good about us stopping the run. So how is this Chiefs team beating dudes? Like what would the weakness be to stop this offense?
I mean, you got to make Patrick Mahomes play a bad game, which I would say outside of last week, you could probably get 1 or 2 turnovers. And I know that he has a history of, turning the ball over against the Denver Broncos. It hasn't resulted in many wins for the Broncos, but he has turned the ball over his fair share. I think in order for Denver to have a realistic shot, they're going to have to turn him over once or twice, or at least get a couple turnovers. You saw Kelsey fumbled in the last game. Maybe Mahomes throws a bad pick. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe you get a turnover some way else. But I do think the recipe to defeat this Chiefs team, you got to get a turnover. You got to capitalize on that turnover. And you got to hope that, you don't get in too many manageable third down situations. Because, listen, for all of the haters that are going to say Patrick Mahomes hasn't had a good season, which to a certain extent is true statistically, his third down numbers, his fourth quarter numbers are the best in football. And so you don't want to put him in those situations. And if you do put him in a third down, can't be a 3rd and 5, can't be a 3rd and 4. It's got to be like a 3rd and 15. And who knows what the DeAndre Hopkins acquisition is going to do for those numbers as the season goes on.
Yeah, so coming into the season, the criticism of Nix was that he was a check down king, and the 33rd team just put out this advanced analytics that Bo Nix is actually 5th in the league when it comes to percentage of throws that are deep throws. Actually, 36th in the league with quarterbacks is your quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. So he throws it short more than any other quarterback in football. Does Hopkins change that recipe, or is Hopkins more of a short slant dude? And how do you see Hopkins changing this offense?
Maybe this is just the Chiefs fan in me talking. I fully believe if the Chiefs wanted to go down there and score in 30 seconds, they could do it. I think that they have the weapons. I think that Patrick Mahomes is just a surgeon when it comes to dissecting a defense. But I think this team wants to go on 8-minute drives. I think they want to establish the running game. And honestly, this could sound crazy, but I think that they know how talented they are, that they try out things in game. Like you saw in the first quarter of that Monday Night Football game against the Bucs, they tried to get Xavier Worthy involved very early and try to get him more comfortable with the offense. He's had varying degrees of success with that, but they immediately knew, okay, that's not working. Let's go to something else now. And they went to DeAndre Hopkins. And to kind of answer your question about D-Hop, I think he kind of fits the Rashee Rice role. And that does sound crazy because Rashee Rice is not near as talented as DeAndre Hopkins, but they kind of have the same, short yardage ability. But I think that D-Hop really improves this team in the red zone. He's been here 2 weeks. He had 2 touchdowns last week. You're going to see him get a lot of receptions in the red zone and touchdowns because he's just such a imposing threat when you're down there that all of the eyes used to be on Travis Kelce. Now you got to worry about D-Hop. And that's just another element that, DeAndre Hopkins makes this offense better. But yeah, I would say that to answer the question, if the Chiefs offense is not dynamic, it isn't, but I don't think it is by design.
Complementary football. They just want to give the defense a break, which is why they are such a great defense. And it's obviously worked for them. And you only need to win every game by 1 point. It's crazy to me that all their games have been close, but they're 8-0, man, for all the haters and all the doubters. They're 8-0 up until this week.
Up until this week.
All right, let's jump into some rapid fire. The Denver Broncos, I'll give you some sentence starters and you finish it. The Denver Broncos defense is blank.
Sneaky. I think they're sneaky.
I like that, man, because I do remember on the AFC West Roundtable, because I already saved it to clip it, you had thought they might be a bit fraudulent. Do you think?
I have said overrated, and I might continue to say overrated, because you guys did get blown out by the Baltimore Ravens. But I do think that they are sneaky good. You guys can rush the quarterback very effectively, and Pat Surtain is a great player. I do have question marks about some of the other areas of your defense, but like I would say that they're sneaky good, and you can't not take them seriously. Patrick Mahomes has struggled occasionally against Vance Joseph, and I'm going to give Vance Joseph his flowers because he knows how to go up against Patrick Mahomes, similarly to what the Chargers have been able to do against Mahomes. So I do think that you guys don't have the recipe to stop Patrick Mahomes, but you're going to play us tighter than a team in the NFC would.
Or at least in the same cookbook, right? I mean, last 2 games, picked him off 4 times. I think 2 fumbles in that. But, end of the day, it's hard to shake that 8-year losing streak to Patrick. This was the first time we've ever beat Patrick Mahomes that last game. So absolutely wild. All right, next, Denver Broncos win if
Mahomes turns the ball over 3 times. I think
so. It's got to be 3. Okay.
I think it has to be 3 or 2, but it's got to be. You got to at least have a couple turnovers that go for touchdowns, and Bo Nix is going to have a really good game. And maybe depending on how much you run the ball to take some of the pressure off of him, Javonte Williams or one of your other backs is going to have to really do well on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, take a little. We're probably giving more carries to Audric Estime. He's had a huge fumble issue, so I know they're going to be ball hawking there. But averaging 6.3 yards a carry. I think he only has 19 total carries, but keep an eye on that. Kansas City Chiefs win if
they don't turn the football over. I think it's a turnover issue. And you saw, last week, Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. They took care of the football for the most part. And another area is just that they can convert on 3rd down. And that was a big thing in that game. Outside of a couple, Xavier Worthy gaffes in the first quarter, Mahomes' completion, he did not miss. He was surgical in that game. And so, I mean, I think most of it is just a turnover issue. If we turn the ball over, you're going to have a better chance to win. But take care of the football, you'll more than likely walk out of Kansas City with a win.
Ooh, that'd be amazing. Your least favorite Denver Bronco of all time?
Oof. Oh man, that's a good question. Because I do have some love for Broncos. Akeem Talib. I go to KU, so I do love Akeem Talib.
Poke him in the eye, baby.
Chris Harris, too. So yeah. I do have some love for the KU boys, but honestly, I was not a fan of Von Miller. Did not like going up against Von Miller twice a year, so I would say probably Von Miller.
Love it, man. Von's my boy. He's right back there, although he's in a little controversy now, so sometimes I blur out my Von back there. Yeah. Okay.
He wasn't in controversy in Denver, though. We could say that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the problem. You leave Denver, you get in trouble. Who is the Chiefs' most hated team in the division? Because without a doubt, I think for old school Broncos fans hate the Raiders, but the Raiders have been horrible my whole life. So it's like people my age and younger hate the Chiefs the most. But who's your all most hated team in the division?
It's so weird because I think that the Raiders carry a lot of hatred because their fan base is really bad. Like, dangerous outside of Graf. Graf's amazing. We love Graf on this channel, but like the Raider Nation can be violent towards your opposing team. A Broncos fan could come to Arrowhead and you'd be fine. I don't know about going to Mile High. I think you'd probably walk out of there with all of your belongings and not beat up. But like,
true,
you would be safe. I would say the Broncos, from more of a pure rivalry perspective, over the last 15 years, it's actually been competitive.
Love it, man. Well, so we both hate each other equally. Love it.
Yes.
Who's your favorite player on this team right now, on your Chiefs team?
That's such an interesting question because like there's so many guys that I think are like unsung heroes of the team. Like I think Noah Gray, the tight end too, has been fantastic for, Mahomes and really pivotal on like third downs and in long situations where everyone's focused at stopping Travis Kelce. But Noah Gray's been a very capable tight end for this team. Honestly, a guy that I think has been fantastic and made just huge leaps this year, Leo Chenal, the linebacker. He's gone from being a guy that was kind of a rotational piece to playing a lot more snaps. Chenal has won us a couple games. Like he had that stop on was it Bijan against the Falcons early on in the year. Everyone gives Bolton the credit. It was Leo Chenal that got to him first. And so I think that Leo Chenal is kind of quietly one of my favorite players on the team.
And are there any referees in particular you are fond of since of all the favorable calls?
I don't have one that comes to mind. I will say I'm a fan of any referee that gives us a favorable call.
Well, then all of them. All right. Let's see if there's something we can agree on. Your favorite KU basketball player of all time.
So,
there's one answer here. You're on a Broncos channel, Denver channel. Come on, you gotta get. We'll agree on one thing.
We'll go Christian Brown.
Let's go. The last thing. What is your final score prediction, my man?
I think it's going to be close. I do think that Denver is a solid enough team that this isn't going to be a blowout. You've seen the Chiefs run away with certain games like New Orleans. That's not going to be what this is. I think it's probably going to be a one-score game. Now, it could be very similar to what the Raiders game was, where the Chiefs went up and then the Broncos were playing like come from behind, which is very likely. But I do think it's within a touchdown. And I'll say that the Chiefs offense kind of gets back on their winning ways. I think they'll probably put up 28, 30 points. I'll go 28-21. I think that Knicks will find the end zone twice, and you'll probably get a rushing touchdown.
All right, man. Well, for the record, I'm saying 28-14 Denver Broncos. I have a feeling. I'm hoping y'all are sleeping on this game. The win streak has to come to an end. But we will see, man. Where you're covering the game, so can our viewers see you on the field, and can you do something to show a little love? Like maybe just pop the top and we'll know it's you. And
of
then
course.
where can our viewers
completely naked on the field pregame at Arrowhead?
Okay. So keep an eye out for Darcy on the field and look away. Hope it's not
look away. Shield your eyes, hide the kids, just do it all.
Absolutely. Where can our viewers connect with your channel and all the stuff you're plugging, man?
You guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report. That's kind of the one-stop shop for everything. I love hearing Denver fans either reacting to a loss by the Broncos or a win. Listen, if the Chiefs are going to win or if the Broncos are going to win, I'm going to be there to hear it. And so you guys can definitely troll me over there at KC Sports Report on YouTube. But also, if you guys haven't already, check out the AFC West Roundtable that me and Ben do every Tuesday night. It's been pretty competitive between us two. I know the Chargers fans just kind of okay.
There's
and then
no
Graf's been out of it for a while. So Graf and Jake are kind of struggling, but Ben, I mean, our teams are playoff teams right now. So you gotta take some pride in that.
100%, dude. All right. Links to both of those down below. And thank you so much, Darcy. And we will talk on Sunday.
Yes, sir.
Can you just say Bo-LIEVE?
Bo-LIEVE.
Oh, you did. Oh my goodness.
I'll say it. He's going to lose, but I'll say it.
Thanks, man.